Welcome to CosplayPhreak. Today we're going to review my Thor helmet from Marvel Rivals. I have been obsessed with this game and plan to do a full run of helmets, props, and full armor builds for this series. This is not a sponsored video. I purchased the 3D printable STL files from YoshStudios. I plan to eventually paint and weather the helmet as well as add foam to the interior for comfort. If you enjoy my content, please feel free to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. So for now, let's take a closer look at how to make the helmet.
You can purchase a file at YoshStudios. You can find the link to their store in the video description below. Once you receive the file, you will need to import it into a meshing program like MeshMixer to resize and customize the file. I use sizing heads from the creator Budwin that you can find on Thingiverse to help properly size the helmet. You can find the link in the video description below. Next, measure your head circumference. Once you have that, you can now choose the corresponding sizing head that best fits your measurements. Next, finish importing the head and align it to the build area. Now you can import the helmet files. Once imported, begin to align the parts to the sizing head. This will give you a good starting point to begin sizing. I like to then position the helmet so that I can see the eyes of the sizing head matched with the eyes of the helmet. Note they will not always match, as the head and the helmet are going to be off on size. Next, begin to manipulate the size of the full helmet. If you do this one piece at a time, it might not align properly. So make sure all the helmet parts are highlighted prior to resizing. When resizing, keep in mind what the goal of the outcome of the piece will be. Are you just printing a static file which can be closer to the dimensions of your head, hence a tighter fit? Or are you seeking to add electronics, lighted eyes, or add padding for comfort, which will require you to have a bit more room for a looser fit that would allow space for these items. It all depends on what you're going for, and this can be trial and error for many first-time 3D printing cosplayers. Once you have it resized to your liking, save the final files as object files. Note, rendering them can take some time. Now you are ready to import your files into your slicer. I use Creality Print to prepare and slice my files. After opening your slicer, begin to import one part at a time and arrange it on the build plate. Keep in mind openings and holes to properly orient the file. I like to use tree supports to minimize material use. Note, the key to good prints is routine maintenance, temperature control, humidity of the filament, and the filament you use. Most printers today have great settings. Just make sure to choose the correct setting for your filament material before slicing. After the file is imported, oriented, and sliced, you can then export it as a G-code file, which is what your printer will read and use to print your file. I like to print parts separate as overcrowding your bed can easily cause failures. After the file has printed, we move on to prepping the print. Now this is where you make the decision of keeping a raw file if you printed it already in the colors you are happy with, or moving forward with further processing. If you choose to keep it as a raw file, I suggest to deburr and sand the edges. Begin to put the pieces together affixing magnets as well as gluing any immovable pieces in place. You can choose to add mesh eyes, or if you are fancy, add some light up eyes. Just make sure to size the helmet larger to fit electronics. If you choose to move to a more detailed finished file, it will require taking the arduous time of sanding. Yes, the 3D printing cosplayer's pastime. I suggest getting some good tunes before you begin the sanding process. Once finished sanding, you can then move to paint, which will require priming, possibly more sanding, repriming, and 2 to 3 coats of paint. If you are permanently gluing any parts, make sure to think of paint before affixing these, as you may have to tape that up if you already glued the parts together. After painting, you can then go through detailing, adding shadows, highlights, exposed blemishes, and weathering. Lastly, you can add 2mm foam of padding on the inside of the helmet for comfort. As you can see, the helmet fits perfectly. I added strapping to keep it in place. I can move around without it falling apart, and it looks really cool for cosplay or just as a standing piece to add to your collection. You can find the helmet live on my Etsy store. Please find the link in the video description below. Let's discuss some of the strengths of this file. I like the overall design of the original file. It's pretty accurate on the parts placement and design. The built-in strap holders are a huge plus. Now for some of the weaknesses. I unfortunately could not find any weaknesses in this file. Yosh did a great job with the file creation. The only issue with this helmet is the size. The wings are pretty big. It would be great to have magnetic connections to disconnect the wings for easier storage and transport. Overall, this helmet file is great. I love the look and feel of the helmet. Yosh really thought this one out, and I feel this is exactly what Thor looks like in the game. I would highly recommend this file if you planned on cosplaying as Thor or a diehard fan looking for a unique piece for your collection. If you don't have a 3D printer and are looking for a physical printed file, go check out my Etsy store and I'll be more than happy to help you get your very own version of this helmet. I give this file 5 out of 5 stars.
Well, that's it for today. Thank you for watching this video, and keep an eye out for more Marvel Rivals builds as we continue the series in the next video. Until next time, my cosplay freaks, I'll see you in the next one.